If Scotland votes no, they get extra powers. That West Lothian question becomes more acute. What should happen, in simple terms?
Well, I think we've got lopsided devolution, and it would be even more lopsided if we just gave more powers to Scotland. I think we want fair devolution. So I would say that all the powers that are devolved to the Scottish Parliament in Edinburgh should be devolved to the English Parliament in Westminster. We're happy to do both jobs. Should be devolved to the Welsh Assembly in Wales. I think it should be fair. I don't think we should have first and second class devolution for Scotland and Wales and then no devolution for England. And the one thing I did not disagree with was we don't need two education secretaries. There would be an English education secretary in the English Parliament, but there wouldn't be a union education secretary because there's a Scottish education secretary and there'd be a Welsh education secretary.
Peter Hain, he's right, isn't he? I mean, it would be even more farcical to carry on as we are with Scottish MPs having a say over matters that don't affect their constituents, because there'd be fewer decisions about Scotland taken at Westminster.
The status quo is dead. Whatever happens next Thursday, what we need to do, I hope there'll be a no vote, I expect there will be. But what we need to do in that event is move to what Britain has really been going towards, which is a federal structure. Now that should have more powers for Wales, more powers for Scotland, and more powers for England, which is the most centralised part of the United Kingdom now, highly centralised in London. And England, with the exception of London, should have, and by the way, Ed Miliband made an important speech about devolution to city regions or regions of England. You could see, for example, Manchester City region wanting powers devolved, and you could see the north-east of England wanting it.
You're shaking your head there. Why?
It's got to be devolution to England. England is my country. England should have the same respect as Scotland.
But why should it be dominated in London?
We want an English Parliament because London is our capital city, and we will govern for the whole of England in a fair way.
No, I disagree with that.
Well, why should you intervene? You're Welsh. I'm English. I'm representing England. I'm speaking for England, and we want our own English Parliament, Peter, and that is the very strong view of the English people.
And I'm also a strong believer in Britain. And what we need is a federal structure based constitutionally in Westminster. I mean, it's a nonsense, for example, that our existing Parliament in Westminster could in principle abolish the Scottish Parliament and the Welsh Assembly. It would never happen, but it's a constitutional nonsense that still possibility exists constitutionally. You need to define it as a federal structure, and I don't think most people in England want to be run from London. I think the North East, I think parts of Yorkshire, Cornwall and so on want their own power, and then you restructure... But
we tested this in your referendum and you lost.
That was on a flawed model in which there were no serious powers and people thought they were being sold a pup, and they were.
Yet politicians, time and time again over the years, suggest power being held more closely to communities. Now, you referred there to the referendum in the North East, offering a regional assembly that was overwhelmingly beaten as a proposal.
It was a Mickey Mouse assembly.
But the idea was there, was it not? It was offered to people, as have been the idea of local mayors, local police commissioners.
They don't want it.
Time and time and again, people don't turn out. So where's the appetite?
We want an English Parliament, Peter. It's very simple.
We want an English Parliament. Well, I think what needs to happen if we talk about Westminster is we need to have Westminster restructured so that English MPs have more of a say over English laws. But I don't think you want first and second class MPs.
So you wouldn't stop Scottish or Welsh or Northern Irish MPs voting on issues that don't affect their constituents? You wouldn't face that?
I would say, for example, and the former Clerk of the House, Bill Mackay, looked at this, I would say in the case of English laws, that when they went into committee, the detailed work that was done on them, that should be English MPs only. But when it came to big votes on the floor of the Commons, then I think that should be everybody, because otherwise you have...
But then we're second class, Peter. No, we're second class then. England wants the same as Scotland, Peter. So if Scotland can make her own laws, England will make her own laws.
But John, you want a centralised elite in London running the whole of England. I want power devolved to England.
But look, you are Welsh, I am English, I want my country to have the same as Scotland.
I can have an opinion about it.
And I want to see all of England represented in the English Parliament. It won't be dominated by London. London won't have a majority of votes.
What about the other countries now? Peter Hain, you're in the unusual position of having been Secretary of State for Wales and also for Northern Ireland. So what happens at Stormont? What happens in Cardiff? Is something about to be unleashed, or how can we have a situation where Scotland, almost it appears overnight, is being offered a rapidly compressed timetable of power being handed over, and Cardiff and Stormont sit back and watch?
I think it's a very fair question. I'm in favour of much more devolution to Wales. I don't think you can give all the goodies to Scotland because there's been a seismic change or kind of rumbling there. I think you've got to make sure Wales gets proper devolution beyond where we've taken it now, and I think Northern Ireland the same. If we don't do this, if no vote wins this time, as I hope and think it will, if you don't do this, the next time it'll be Scottish independence. Because I think people are fed up with the Westminster class, not just in Scotland but elsewhere, in other parts of England and Wales as well, and they want big change and they want more say.
It might be rather a shame for those voters in Scotland, still about half, who want to stay with the Union, that it's only now that Westminster politicians have actually been waking up to what they want. John Redwood, if the Union is lost, many of your colleagues are clear privately that in their view the Prime Minister will have to resign. Is there a chance of that?
No, he's made very clear that he will not resign. He had to do this. He had to offer the referendum. It wasn't in his gift to say no. Once Scotland had elected a majority Scottish nationalist government wanting independence, the only fair thing to do is to put it to the people. It's not his fault if it is lost. I hope it's won for keeping the Union together, but if it is lost, that is the result in Scotland, and we shouldn't regard it as a commentary on him.
Thank you both very much.